Hello everyone and welcome back to S&E Ants. Before we get into everything, could you do me a quick favor and hit the like button if you're enjoying the videos? About 80% of you who watch this are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit that sub button while you're at it. Now let's get into this week's video. So as you're watching in the background, I am commentating over this footage. This week we have something special for you guys I've never done before. So I'm sure all of you watched the last video where we moved our Pennsylvanicus colony number 2, or should I say the queen by herself, back into a test tube. I kind of mentioned that she was struggling. She hadn't produced or even started a colony other than the 2 nanitics that she devoured last year. So I'm trying to get her a jump start. So I talked to some people in Discord, and I'll link the Discord down in the description. I'm in a couple different Discords. They suggested to do brood boosting. Now, I know this is a subject that some people are familiar with, some people are not. I am familiar with it, but I have never done it myself. It's been a long time since I've kept ants. As you can see, the channel just was started last year, and I kind of wanted to do videos for everybody. Those that are learning to do ant keeping, those of you that have been in ant keeping, I'm sure everything I do is kind of repetitive, but I just wanted to give you guys my take on it. So talking to Mr. Nuggets, Waffle Nuggets, I think his name is, in Discord, he suggested, or she, whichever, suggested that we brood boost her to get her going. Now, this can be a helpful thing for a new queen, especially, some ant keepers don't have the time to go catch their ants, or they're in a region that maybe it's just not a thing. So I know some of you may have bought your queens. If this is the case, like myself, this queen I did buy, she was discounted quite heavily because it was the end of the season and they just wanted to get rid of her. So I bought her discounted. I've spent money on her. I don't want her to fail. So I've done absolutely everything I can to get this queen going and get her colony going. So as you can see in the video, I'm doing something a little different as far as I'm attempting to brood boost. Now, as you can see, again, in other videos, I have gotten the new Outworld, and it's actually big enough for me to set the mini hearth inside of. Now, this is, you got to be very careful with this. I tried a couple different methods. I tried to put a bowl down and do the baby powder and alcohol mixture so they couldn't get out, but the more I thought about it, the more I figured I was making it too complicated, and I didn't want to have it. You want as least escapees as possible. So my solution to this was put a small Tupperware cup inside of the Outworld and put the mini hearth on top of that cup. So if the ants did get out, they were confined into the Outworld, and I wouldn't have to move them around from bowl to Outworld or anything like that. Now you could take an extra step here and put the baby powder and alcohol mixture around the edges of the Outworld too. I just don't do that. My carpenter ants or my Camponotus Pennsylvanicus colony they don't climb the sides very much. So I figured if one or two did climb the sides, I could just brush them back into the Outworld. It wasn't a big deal. So essentially you're making a little moat in the middle of the Outworld. So as you can see, as I pulled the glass panel off of the mini hearth, obviously they're going to pour out to defend the nest. It's just a natural behavior for ants. So let them do it. Don't freak out. They're going to climb everywhere. They're going to climb over everything. Let them do their thing. I know this can be very daunting for new ant keepers, and even for myself. I've been ant keeping for a while, but I'm not very experienced in keeping large ants. I usually keep smaller ants, so I definitely don't want to get bit by any of these ants. If it happens, it happens, but we want to avoid it if we can. We don't want an accident to happen, or for a newer ant keeper to get bit, and they don't want to keep ants anymore. So again, just stay cautious and keep your cool when they all flood out. Now let's get into the topic, brood boosting. Now I know a lot of you don't understand what this is, or you may understand what this is, but you're not 100% on it. So as you can see, I took the side panel off, the colony come out, and the premise of this is to get as many pupae as you can cocooned, in my case, because my colony is Camponotus colony that the pupae are cocooned. If you were watching closely, I have a pair of feather forceps that I can just pull them out. You'll see one in the very back that I'm eyeing. And you don't want to hurt the ants. You don't want to hurt the pupae. You're just pulling them out one at a time. And what you don't see off camera is I have a little cup that I'm putting the pupae I get in. As you can see right now, I'm trying to be easy. Yep, and I grab one and I pull it out. And I have it in the forceps. Now, I'm not hurting the pupae. I'm not squeezing very hard. You just want to get the cocoon. You don't want to squeeze down because you can mash these and kill them. The pupae inside. You do not want to do that. And this is a good time for you to clean anything that you need to clean inside of the mini hearth or even the glass, as I'm going to do. Again, off camera, I take the glass. I don't put any kind of chemicals on it. I just use water and a paper towel, and I just clean the inside of the glass. So when you put it back together, you don't have to worry about it for a while, and you have a clear view of the inside of the nest, whenever you want. I did block off the top of this mini hearth. Once I purchased the Outworld, I no longer needed the top. I can put all the food and liquid feeders inside of the big Outworld. So this is a plus for me. I could keep the growing colony inside, but not be confined to the small Outworld that's attached to the top. So I don't really have to mess with that a whole lot. But going back to the brood boosting, I took out I think 3 or 4 little pupae, put them in a cup, and right now, as you see, I'm letting the ants kind of do their thing. They'll calm down and they'll get settled in. They'll go right back into the nest. I'm cleaning the glass in the video right now to put back on. And again, you want to be careful. You don't want to kill any ants unnecessarily. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to help the other Pennsylvanicus queen to get going, and that's kind of what I want to talk about here too. So why would you brood boost? The main point of this is to give the best chances of survival for another colony. And let me emphasize this: the species has to be the same. I do not recommend mixing anything. You more than likely will create a problem, and either the pupae will die, the current queen will eat the pupae or larva, or you don't want to mix species at all. Don't do that. Always get cocooned or pupae, because obviously the queen that we're trying to nurse into a healthy colony state is already struggling. So if you put larvae or eggs in that colony or with that queen, you're creating additional stress on her to feed these small stages of ants that are constantly looking for food and water. The queen is already struggling enough to get a colony going. You don't want to put more stress on her with begging larvae that are begging for food. You want a pupae that is already done with its larval stage and it's turning into an ant. That way, when it emerges, she has helpers to help her take care of any other eggs that she may lay or feed her. And that's the most important part, is feed her, because we want to be able to feed these new nanitics, or they're not actually considered nanitics because you're taking them out of a pretty healthy colony, but these new ants to feed her, to make sure that she has the best chances of survival. So again, in the video, I cleaned the glass and I'm being very careful to slide this magnetic glass piece over top of it. I'm making sure that I don't squish any ants. You want to be very careful here, and I'm playing with fire and I shouldn't have, but the cup is, you want to make sure the cup that you have underneath of it is very stable, because if this hearth falls, you could end up in a very bad spot of the hearth squishing ants, the queen inside getting hurt or killed, or breaking something, and then you have a huge escapee problem. So again, the glass is clean. You can kind of see really, really clearly into the nest. You'll see the queen back in the back on the side of the wall. She's very big, right in the middle of all the ants. All the broods back there. So I didn't get any larvae. I didn't get any eggs. All I got is the few pupae that they started to have in this new season to help out this new queen. So again, going back to brood boosting, you're taking out a couple of pupae, putting them off to the side. You only want to do this with a healthy colony that is growing and has no issues. Excuse me. The first Camponotus colony does not have an issue growing. So it's okay to take a few pupae out for the new queen that I'm trying to get back to a good state. Again, In the video, we're just putting together all the setup again. As you see in the very bottom of the outworld, I have plugged up the tube entrance, so no one can run out. On the mini hearth is the same situation. I have the tube entrance on the mini hearth plugged as well. So if you need to do any cleaning at this point, you can. If you have a big outworld, this is a great way to do it. I actually found this on another video. A guy had some harvester ants and kind of did the same setup with setting the mini hearth on top of a bowl, but his was inside of another bowl. If you have a big outworld, you can do this with a big outworld. If you don't worry, you can do it inside of a bowl too. Just get a really large, deep bowl, put another smaller cup inside, and put the mini hearth on top. That way you can access the mini hearth, but if any do get out, you have about I would say two layers of protection, because they have to get off the mini hearth and then they have to get out of the bowl on top of it. So it gives you time to kind of manage the escapees if you have any. So again, great spot to clean anything. If you, definitely clean the glass. The glass does get dirty with colonies. They dirty up the glass, they pile dirt up on it, and again, we get these types of formicarium so we can see inside of the nest. So definitely take your time. Do not spray any kind of chemicals on that glass. You do risk killing the entire colony if you do that. No Windex, no glass cleaner, nothing like that. You just want to use water and wipe off the dirt or any kind of debris that's on the glass. Now, as you can see, I am putting a piece of cotton over top of one end of the tube, so any ants that do run out go into the tube, and that's it. Now my fiance is helping me here. I think I had an escapee somewhere on, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I think I just tossed it right in. Yep, I just tossed it was on the cork. I just tossed him right into the outworld, and then I'm going to unplug the outworld and put the tube back together. Make sure, again, we're trying to limit the escapees as much as possible here. So you can take it off, unplug the cork, and put the tube right back in. So hopefully, if you're doing this correctly, you can have as less ants get out as possible. If you do have another colony of the same species, you're helping that colony get to past the founding stage really quickly. Again, in the other videos that hopefully you have seen at this point, that queen is really struggling and did kill her first two nanitics. And I think they were, I don't want to say deformed, but they had an issue with them where they weren't walking correctly. I don't know, something was definitely wrong with them, and I think the queen sensed that, and she killed them. But she is a very defensive queen too, because founding colony queens are very defensive. So she may have killed them because she felt like she was being threatened. And that's why, again, I've mentioned in other videos, you want to make sure that you leave these queens alone. But because this queen is in this state, and I've had her for about a year now, and she hasn't had a successful colony founding at all. Both of the current colony that you're seeing, and then if you look in the background, I have my other Camponotus colony. They're both doing great. So I want to make sure that this third colony that I have, well, again, the queen, is I want her to get to a spot where she's like these. So I'm doing my very best on trying to brood boost her. Yes, you do have to feed these queens, especially if they're struggling, because eventually their wing muscles, they'll drain every bit of muscle tissue that they have left, and then they won't be able to sustain themselves, or much less any kind of new brood that they produce. So I am feeding this queen. She doesn't like it too much. Again, she is very aggressive, and you will see that later in the video when I get to moving the pupae inside of the test tube. She's extremely defensive, so you got to be very careful here, because I didn't want her to attack the new pupae and destroy them or eat them, because again, I'm trying to help her here. She doesn't know that, she's an ant, but we know that as keepers that we're doing our best to help her. So in just a second, I should bring out the queen in the test tube. Yep, right here. She's been picking at this cotton for a week as soon as I put her into this test tube. So The pupae are in the cup, as you can see. I tilted up, and you can see the few pupae in there. Your best bet is to put about like as many as you can inside of this test tube or whatever kind of housing you have for your queen. But I'm going to gently pull out the cotton. She is going to freak out a little bit and run to the back of the tube, which is kind of what I want. And I'm being very, very gentle here. You don't want to pull her out. You don't want to hurt her. And I've said that in the last video. I put her in here to help her. So we're going to get a piece of cotton just in case she bolts or runs out. We don't want her to escape or fall or get herself hurt. So I'm gently going to start placing these pupae at the very, very end of the test tube. Now you got to be careful here because different colonies, even if they're the same species, carry a different pheromone. That's how ants communicate with each other, the pheromones on each other. So again, we're being very, very gentle with this pupae. We want to put it on the very edge of the tube. These pupae have a different pheromone right now than she produces. Every colony has a different pheromone. That's how they communicate with each other. That's how they tell what colony is from which, and whose sister is who. They smell different. So she's going to immediately, and she's already defensive because I'm messing with the tube here, but she's going to immediately think something's trying to kill her and get very, very defensive. So you can see her, she's starting to flick her antenna around, kind of smell around, and I'm just going to gently ease up the pupae so the cotton doesn't do anything, but she thinks it's a threat entering her chamber. And as you can see, she's going to smell these pupae and start to attack them. And at this point, I get a little worried. But again, I don't want to say these pupae are cannon fodder because the other colony is doing great. But every ant to me is very important, and they have a role in every colony. So I don't want her to destroy these pupae. I don't want her to eat these. So in this shot, I'm watching very, very closely of what she's doing and her actions. If she starts to attack them and kill them, I'm going to take them out if I possibly can. So again, we don't waste precious ant life. And I know some people may see this differently because they're just ants. But to me, every ant is special to me. They all have a role. As you can see, she's smelling the pupae now, and she's going to get very, very angry. She's going to start attacking them. Thankfully, she's not very good at attacking anything. She misses quite a bit, which is good for me. But the cocoon should protect the pupae inside just a little bit. She's not cutting them in half. She's not biting them into the point where they're splitting. And I'm watching very closely, and she's recognizing that there is no threat. Slowly as you watch, yes, she's doing her biting. Yes, she's getting very defensive, but she's seeing that these are pupae and nothing is there to hurt her. So she calms down after a little bit. And again, I'm watching this very closely, so she doesn't start to tear these open and kill the ant inside. But as you can see, she's still going to just kind of take little jabs at them, but she's not biting hard enough to rip the cocoon that's around the pupae. So that's very important. Again, I'm going to emphasize these pupae have a different scent than what she has, so that's why she's doing that. Currently, right now, as we speak, the 3 pupae are still in there. She has not tore them open. She has not destroyed them. Nothing. So I know that this has went good as it could. So if any of you new ant keepers are trying to brood boost a colony or have 2, this is kind of the procedure you want to do. You get pupae, you put them in there. You do risk losing those pupae. Just know that, and that's why you want to put a lot in there, as many as you can. At this current time of recording, I only had 3 pupae in my first colony to give her. Now, I do have quite a bit more, and I could add more if I wanted to, but I want to see if these 3 pupae emerge, and then if they do emerge, I can add in the pupae later to kind of get her going even more. So this is kind of a how-to video, but explaining what's going on with both colonies. I will do an update on the Pennsylvanicus, my main Pennsylvanicus colony, as well as the Castaneus colony when I get later footage. I have a lot of footage to go through and a lot of editing to do, so keep an eye out for those. Hopefully this video kind of helps you understand how this process works, how to go about doing this if you need to, or if you just want to clean the glass in your mini hearths and you have a dirty mini hearth, you can kind of use these tactics on how to get the glass off without having too much escapees and stuff like that. So Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you can, give me a like, give me a subscribe. And I have a lot of you guys that are subscribed, and I have a lot of folks that don't subscribe that still watch. I appreciate every one of you. We're getting to good places, and this is going to be a very, very good 2023 season. So I hope to catch you in the next video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Hey, S&E Ants here. If you enjoyed this video, check out this recent upload of this recommended video. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button in the middle of the screen, and if you liked what you just watched, hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. If you have any other suggestions or ideas, comment down below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.